This is False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer, fanside.com. I'm joined today by a man who does not laminate all of his important documents, who does not put a number 2 pencil behind his ear, and is not a raging slob. Why? Because he's not an NFL coach. He's a Boston Red Sox fan. Happy Alex Bregman Day. Cody Williams, content director, fanside.com. How the hell are you?
Found out the Red Sox are winning the World Series last night. I'm feeling quite good. It's been a long offseason. Earlier this week, I wrote sarcastically that the Red Sox should let their top prospect Roman Anthony hit right-handed, despite the fact that he's a lefty, just because I'm so desperate for a right-handed bat. Last night, get Alex Bregman. It's a good day. Vibes are high. I'm running on all vibes because I'm tired as hell, but I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Well, if Roman Anthony bats the other way, his name is literally Anthony Nomar, like your favorite player of all time.
I mean, we're just throwing out hypotheticals here.
I will say though, I am still miffed back from 2000 where he didn't show up to Georgia Tech baseball game to give kids autographs when the All-Star game was there. So I think that's where his career went down afterwards. I think that the gods plagued him.
Probably. It's one of the hardest things in my Red Sox fandom, but as I've grown older, you understand it. But as a kid, it was devastating. He got traded during the '04 season, right before they won a World Series. Like that's just brutal. But karma.
You know, Karma's a boyfriend. Karma's a boyfriend that's about to retire. Also, Travis Kelce's hair game was looking really good. Like I
Oh,
was like
dude.
sitting there, I'm like, I was really impressed. I'm like, maybe I'll get short hair again. But I'm like, I hate product. Product's stupid.
His entire pregame aesthetic was straight out of the Nice Guys, like him and Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling just going through the streets, man. That's what he was crushing it. Unfortunately, could not crush it on the football field anymore.
No, sir. And the Atlanta Braves never cease to amaze me. They have spring training. They have the roster that they have. They may trade for Milton native Dylan Cease, which would be wonderful. But let's roll with Chris Sale and Ronaldo Lopez and Spencer Schwellenbach having career years. Let's do
Yeah.
that.
And Spencer Strider, that guy's pretty good. And I hear he's coming back this year. So, that'll work out nicely.
It'll work out nicely because I mean it's Christmas for me, I guess.
That's right.
And I don't know if it's Christmas here in Columbus, Ohio, but we're gonna start with our first and 15 with you're doing great, sweetie. Your new co-defensive coordinator is former Detroit Lions head coach, New England Patriots assistant, Matt Patricia, a man who was probably qualified for this job. He could do it, but he hasn't coached in college football since he was an assistant under Paul Pasqualoni, probably back in '03 at Syracuse. It's been a while.
It's been a minute, and you sound like you might be a little more optimistic than me. I understand that he was a successful defensive coordinator with the Patriots for a long time. That's why he got a head coaching job. So I'm not trying to put it all on like he was such a failure as the Lions head coach that means this is going to fail. Like I don't think that's the case. However, I feel like the more we see coordinators and people from the Belichick coaching tree from that Patriots staff branch out from the Patriots in whatever capacity. It doesn't just have to be a head coaching job. Like we know the head coaching tree has been suspect outside of Mike Vrabel, essentially. And the more you look at that, it's more like how much of that was just Belichick and kind of just a special sauce that they had going. And like I'm just dubious of Patricia being a good DC at this point in his career, and especially going back to college, like the college game when he hasn't been there in forever. Who knows what he's learned, has not learned about the college game since then. And then also like it just adds to the uncertainty about Ohio State. Like we've talked extensively about Julian Sayin and the uncertainty on offense with all their losing. Now you're losing, like now you're having a lot of coordinator turnover on top of that, and you're bringing in guys to be coordinators that there are a lot of questions about them. Like, what is the Brian Hartline like combo going to look like on the offensive side of the ball? What is this with Patricia going to look like on the defensive side of the ball? Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's Ohio State. They're gonna be fine. I'm not like saying the sky is falling or anything, but like if they go 10-2, the sky will be falling in Columbus, according to every fan there.
Oh, for sure. And just we'll talk about Ryan Day and whatever he's doing. And honestly, we've Ohio State coaching changes has been like the lead topic on like 4 or 5 of our last 6 shows. It's been pretty wild.
Right.
But like so right now it's Matt Patricia and I believe Tim Walton, the secondary or the cornerbacks coach, has been promoted to co-DC.
Mhm.
So you have Brian Hartline effectively, I guess, being promoted to play caller because I guess he was already co-OC. And then
Yeah.
they promote tight end coach Keenan Bailey. So this is looking a lot like what happened with Alabama last year, where you have Nick Sheridan, you have Jamarcus Shepard filling in for Ryan Grubb going to the Seahawks, and then you've got Kane Womack and then Maurice Linguist on the defensive side of the ball. It's just a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And I feel if you're having that much roster turnover like we expect, like outside of what Downs, Jeremiah Smith, and I guess Sands being promoted up to be the starter, I guess either him or
Yeah.
Lincoln Kineholtz, if you will.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much change. The talent's great there, and these are good coaches for sure.
Yeah.
But like right now, like I've been like Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State are the three locks. Right now, I would say Penn State's probably playing either Texas or Georgia in the national championship is kind of where I'm leaning right now.
No, and I think that's completely fair, man. Like you look at this Ohio State situation and it like there is a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of questions to answer. Can they answer them? Yeah, of course they can. But like it does make like when we're doing prognostications 6 to 8 months out, like it gives me a little bit more concern about when I'm, having confidence in what Ohio State's going to be able to do this season. So like yeah, and you bring up the Alabama point. I think the other interesting aspect of that is you have a head coach in Kalen DeBoer at Alabama who is a play caller in his own right. Like that's how he cut his teeth. That's how he rose to fame as a play caller. Same with Ryan Day. And so
Yeah.
like that's another cook in the kitchen because like you think that if Brian Hartline struggles as a play caller against Texas in the season opener, Ryan Day's not going to have like the Green Goblin mask speaking to him, being like, "Hey, take the play sheet back, brother."
It is again it's so many different machinations and everything like that. I mean Ohio State's talent, like the roster, they're gonna win 10 games.
Yeah,
They're gonna make the playoff. That's just they're gonna be a top 3 or 4 team in the Big Ten. We know that the floor is just insanely high. It kind of feels this is the same sort of issue that people kind of felt with Ryan Day. And honestly, Nick Sirianni with the Eagles were like, I think just the operation's too good and it can largely
yeah.
drive itself. Yes, they both played huge parts in them winning championships, but like if they didn't, people would turn on them very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Day and went from at the end of the regular season, people were like, if you lose this first playoff game, brother, we're showing up at your door with pitchforks. Like
Yes.
we pitchforks and torches, and you're getting run the hell out of Columbus if you lose this first playoff game. He won a national championship, and it seems like everyone forgot about that. But like, no, that's what Ohio State is. Like, that's what that fan base is. They are rabid, and they deserve to be because when you have that high of a floor, you got to hit your ceiling every now and then, and your ceiling is a national championship almost every single season.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about Ohio State and if they've achieved overachieved whatnot. We'll also talk about, poaching, coaches poaching, coaching
Yeah.
poaching and stuff.
Coaching, poaching, baby.
But I guess like you bring back a point of like Vrabel's like the best branch of Belichick. Well, he played for him. He never really served under
Yeah.
him. The best branch under Belichick is probably Bill O'Brien,
Yeah.
who when he maybe we're looking at this through like rose-colored glasses, but when he went to Alabama to be the OC under Saban, I was pretty bullish on that because we knew he had a lot of success at Penn State. We also know he's one of George O'Leary's biggest disciples at Georgia
Yeah.
Tech and had been in the college game for a very long time at a high level.
No, 100%. And like that, I mean, Bill O'Brien's a good point. I spaced on that one. And
It's
yeah, I
early.
mean,
It's fine, dude.
yeah, I mean, Bill O'Brien, and like he continually done a good job. I think he did a good job in his first season at Boston College. Like Boston College was better than I think a lot of people expected coming into the year. You and I were kind of on that because we do respect Bill O'Brien. But regardless, like it still raises questions to me about like Matt Patricia feels different because we've seen like when Bill O'Brien took the Alabama OC job, we'd still seen him go different places and like he wasn't successful overall at the end as the Texans head coach, but at the same time, like it wasn't an abject disaster. And and like it was maybe underachieving, but it wasn't abject disaster. Patricia was an abject disaster in Detroit. Like it was, and I mean it's so sweet if you're a Michigan fan because most Michigan fans are Lions fans, and they're just looking at this like way to hire like one of the worst head coaches we've ever had.
I guess like an observation, I guess, about Patricia and probably one about the Lions. I'd love if Sheila Ford Hamp was the majority owner at that point. I mean, it's been a night and day since she's really took over
Yeah,
and empowered Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, and that
right.
operation's going to sustain for a while. Also, Jared Goff's really good. Don't know why people sleep on him.
Right. I mean, it's
uh,
people forget he was a number one overall pick for a reason. Like that did happen.
is probably the best player to play for Sonny Dykes, just to put
Yeah.
it out there. Like
Yeah. Sorry, Max Duggan, but yeah.
he's running. He's still probably concussed from the Big 12 championship loss to K-State. Just running.
Just running with reckless abandon.
No regard for human life. But I guess like the last thought I had about Patricia, and obviously our colleagues Scott Rogus and Chris Landers were all about that. They saw that like, oh, this is a big deal. We're gonna hop on this immediately. We got
Yeah.
some thoughts. Really good stuff put out there by the editorial team that we all wrote about. But I guess like the big thing that goes back to me with I go back to with Patricia is like he's not necessarily persona non grata in the NFL, but like it seems like all the windows have been closed. Nobody really wants him. I guess he was on the Eagle staff briefly, or they tried.
Yeah.
Maybe this is an opportunity for him to get back to his roots and try to reinvent himself in the college game. Again, like Pete Carroll, like basically had to go back to college because nobody wanted him after failing with the Patriots and Jets, and look what happened.
Right. And I mean, like, I know I'm being quite negative, and I think I'm, right to be quite negative. Like,
Hmm.
I think that's a justifiable opinion. But I am always like with a coaching hire. Tom Fornelli at CBS Sports does it best. C plus. We'll see how it works out. Like I have no idea. And so like when you're making coaching hires, you really don't know how it's going to work out. Like Kalen DeBoer seemed like a home run hire. 1 year later, we have concerns about Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, and some of those concerns were things we talked about, kind of like we're talking about with Patricia right now. But like it is, we'll see how it works out. Like there is a world where, hey, you know what? Matt Patricia has a pretty easy gig when you get to have a defense that's led by Caleb Downs. Like that can make your life pretty easy. And the recruiting base that Ohio State has, that can make your life pretty damn easy.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's John Summerall, I mean, it's hard to basically forecast if somebody's going to be good. We
Yeah.
thought that like Lincoln Riley was going to do well at USC. It's been pretty bad.
Hmm.
Brian Kelly has not lived up to expectations at LSU. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer's kind of in a transitional period. We were really down on Kenny Dillingham, and he may be the next star coach in college football. We'll see how long he stays
Yeah.
his alma mater. Hopefully, he stays for a while because that'd be good for my relationship.
There you go. And I mean, like on the flip side of that, like, and even looking at coordinators, like when Garrett Riley went to Clemson, like everyone thought that was going to save the Clemson program. And like it seems like it's finally turning, but it took 2 years. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't immediate. Like it took a minute to take. So, like, there's no certainty when it comes to these coaching hires because there's so much more that goes into it. Like you even look at the reason that it seems like Jim Knowles left Ohio State. Like he wasn't a good fit in that coaching staff. Like sometimes it's as simple as that. Obviously, it didn't affect his coaching because he still had one of the best defenses in the country. But like there's so many machinations that go into making a coaching hire work.
100%. And there's so many machinations that go into making a list. Yes, we're debuting a new segment here at number two, TIN10. I forget exactly how that started the lexicon, even though it's like we're spelling 10 incorrectly. But
Yeah.
the premise of this is it's the off season. This is an opportunity for us to make lists. So if anything with like 10 best, 10 worst, whatever, this is just opportunities for us to have a little fun. So we'll start with the 10 best returning quarterbacks heading into 2025. Do you want to count down from 10 to 1 or you
Yeah,
want me
let's
to
go.
want to
Let's go
count?
10-1. I think 10-1 is the way to go.
All right. Since it's your topic and it's your big thing, who do you have at number 10?
Number 10, I have Nico, and I like there's a world where Nico ends the season, the 2025 season, in the top three.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he's that talented, he's that good. But and we I flirted with the idea of leaving him out of the top 10. I truly did after a somewhat disappointing 2024 season, his first season as a starter. But I think at the end of the day, like he did show some positive signs towards the end there, not necessarily against Ohio State, which I think was more of a Tennessee offensive line problem than it was a Nico problem. And I think he did show enough positive signs. I do have enough faith in Josh Heupel's offense to think that better things are still to come for Nico.
I did not have Nico in my top 10, but I did consider him. This is a guy that I was very, very high on this
Mhm.
past year. This is a guy that I said this is going to be the reason why Tennessee makes the playoff. It turns out it was Tim Banks, James Pierce, and the Tennessee Volunteers defense.
Yeah.
Offense is pretty simple, but it's also can be figured out pretty quickly. That's kind of why I feel that Josh Heupel needs to level up at some point as a play caller, needs to get away. You're in the SEC. You're not at Kentucky. You need to get away from the air raid. That just there's
Yeah.
limitations with what you need to do there. But Nico Iamaleava has an immense amount of talent. The question is he going to be closer to what Joe Milton was at his peak, who was pretty good, or Hendon Hooker, who was great?
Right.
Last year I saw him and he was kind of like a little bit of DJU for me, and that frightened the hell out of me.
No, I get it completely. And like again, if we were going into like the natural progression of what we thought of Nico going into 2024, and you naturally progress that, like just erase what we actually saw in the 2024 season, if it was just natural progression, Nico is a top five on this list, and it's no question about it based on where we both were on him going into last season. So the
Yes.
fact that he's not on your list and is in 10 on my list shows that he didn't quite live up to expectations.
I think that's fair. At number 10, I had to put some respect out there for the short king, Noah Fifita.
Mm,
I've seen a lot. I know that Arizona's kind of in a tough spot. I know Ted McMillan's turning pro, but I think that the amount of starts that Noah Fifita's had, his fearlessness out there, he'll put up numbers, and I think he'll impress. And I think honestly, it would not shock me if he carried Arizona to a bowl game. They go 6-6, 7-5. This guy, I just he like I think he's a more likable version of Dylan Gabriel,
yeah.
and I think that what I've seen out of him the last 2 years, it'd be hard for me not to have him in and around the top 10.
I do not have Fafita. I think I had him at 12. I listed it out to about 13, but yeah, I had him at 12. And it's just I do worry about the Ted McMillan loss. I think that that's what worries me the most because like not only is Ted McMillan a potential top five pick in this NFL in this upcoming NFL draft, which is a big loss, but they're also friends, like longtime friends. So like that's I don't know. I worry about that a little bit.
I think that's fair. So who do you have at 9?
So at 9, this is one of the guys that was the hardest for me to place, and I ended up at 9 with Carson Beck. And I think if Carson Beck comes back healthy, he's much higher on this list.
Yes.
The fact that I do not know that makes me put him at 9 because like that if that elbow shot or less than 100% at any point in the season, like I don't think I really worry about that because like he's not immobile, but he's not mobile. And like if that arm is compromised, which was kind of his superpower when he was healthy, like I really worry about what this could look like.
I'm a little more bullish on Carson Beck. I do have him up there higher, but yeah, I think there's a lot of variance there with him. We think we've seen him at his best. He could be a first round pick in
Yeah.
26. Like he played really well at Georgia. I think last year he took a lot of flack that wasn't necessarily deserved.
Yeah.
But I also realize he's more of a trailer than a tractor. He's not like if Tate Ratledge is out and the receivers can't catch the ball. But again, how many other quarterbacks out there could have really done better given the
Oh,
situation? But like
100%.
I do think that's fair that you are mentioning like, yeah, if his arm shot, he doesn't have the zip on the ball, that hurts him a little bit, makes him a little bit less accurate. So, but I do have him on the list a little bit higher up. At number 9, I've got Sam Levitt at Arizona State.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at like mostly I'm looking at players I've seen play enough where I can have a definitive viewpoint on this. That's kind of how I shape my list. I watched him in person at the Peach Bowl. Thought he was pretty mobile. I thought that being a redshirt freshman starter, got a lot of trust in Kenny Dillingham. Yes, you lose Cam Scatterbo, but like you have a lot of talent there. I think outside of Guillory, I think pretty much everybody else comes back. Big 12 defenses aren't going to be an SEC defense. I think Sam Levitt has a fantastic year. There's a potential chance for him to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I realize I also missed somebody big on my list, but that's okay.
It's all good, man. And I have Sam Levitt much higher on this list. So I
Yes.
we kind of swapped where we have Carson Beck and Sam Levitt here. At 8, I have Arch. And I know that Arch is unproven largely. However, I do think that among like the young quarterbacks that we haven't seen play a ton, whether you're talking about Julian Sam or you're talking about this, that, or the other, Bryce Underwood, even like when you're talking about these guys, we have seen enough from Arch to make me a believer. And also, the other thing that I keep coming back to is I trust Steve Sarkisian a hell of a lot. And like, I don't think that he's going to put Arch Manning in situations early, especially early where Arch is uncomfortable. And B, I don't think he would start Arch Manning. I don't care what his name was if Arch Manning wasn't ready. I truly don't. I truly believe that.
Here's my take. I do not have Arch Manning in my top 10, and I just have not seen enough. It's the
Yeah.
same sort of thing with Gunnar Stockton or Ryan Puglisi, whoever the starters for Georgia and Texas. I'm going to be very hot. I'm going to be very critical on. I'm not going to like anoint them just yet.
Yeah.
They need to go out there and they need to prove it to me. I know that Arch Manning can run a ground centric offense. I wonder if he's really all that much of a thrower. He threw the ball a lot versus Mississippi State and ULM, but that was Mississippi State and ULM.
Right.
There's again, I trust Steve Sarkisian, I trust AJ Milwee, I trust the offense. He's got the players in there. I would not be shocked if we have him like 3 at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But like,
100%.
but like right now, like there will be growing pains. He'll play his best ball in the season. I don't think he beats Georgia in Athens. He may not beat them in Atlanta, but like he's going to be quarterbacking a 9 to 11 win team, and you're going to be playoff viable the entire time. So I can't quite anoint him yet, but I'd like to at some point. But he's got to prove it to me.
No, and I think that's completely fair. I will say, like, my 8, 9, 10 on this list, like we talked about it a little bit pre-show. Like this list was a lot harder to compile than we both
Yeah.
thought. Like, there's not that many like sure things returning at the quarterback position for the 2025 season, at least good sure things, I guess I would say. And so like this 8 through 10 range to me is kind of like the guys who I think to have the potential to be like almost top 5 guys, essentially. But there's questions about them, whether that's Nico and kind of disappointing in 2024, whether that's Carson Beck and the injury, or whether that's Arch Manning and just the lack of experience that he has.
So for 8 for me, I've got Luke Altmaier at Illinois.
Nice. I like Luke Allmeyer.
I've I'm Andy Staples had Illinois making the playoff. There's a very strong possibility they take Indiana's spot as the fourth Big Ten team, or in there that cluster of 8 teams with like South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, whoever. Maybe Tennessee, I'm a little bit higher on Tennessee than other people are, but like
Yeah.
Illinois has a chance to be a playoff team. Brett Bielema is a hell of a coach. They've got the quarterback that I think can be a difference maker there. Also, I've been spelling his name wrong. I've been adding an extra E in there because my fraternity brother has the same last name with an extra E.
It happens.
But that's who I've got at 8.
So I have Altmaier at 11. So
Okay.
I'm high on him, just not he didn't quite crack the list, but I think he's a good quarterback, man. You can do a whole hell of a lot worse than Luke Altmaier.
So who do you have at 7?
At 7, I've got our boy Rocco Beck, baby.
Oh yeah.
Rocco Beck, shouts to Rocco. I looking back at what Iowa State accomplished this past season, I think I may have what's the word I'm looking for? Miscalculated how big of an impact Rocco Beck had on that team and how much he was kind of the straw that stirred the drink and that offense was because once we saw State start playing good to great defenses, we saw them really pull back towards the end of the season. And I think that the defense was kind of a house of cards to some degree, and that Rocco Becht was kind of in the offense were kind of the stabilizing force. So in 2 years of experience now under his belt, we're high on the clones and what they're going to be able to do this year. And I think a big reason is Becht.
Beck's name I forgot, so
Okay.
I'm gonna say I had him at 11. So,
Okay.
but
Nice.
that's I would have him somewhere in the 12 to 6 range if
Yeah.
you really would look at this. I guess the reason like I did not probably put him in there initially is like I do think he has proclivity for turning the football over. I feel
Definitely.
like it kind of gets in the there it's like the bad sort of play that you would see out of Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers where it's like, come on, dude, you're better than this.
Right.
And then also I think, it's kind of following a similar pathway with Brock Purdy there at Ames, where like Brock Purdy was really good as an underclassman, then it
Yeah.
did not kind of pulled back a little bit. So, but yeah, I'm very high on Rocco Becht, and that's why I'm very high on the Cyclones, but I do not quite have him on this list, even though I probably should have. That's okay.
It's all good, baby.
At number 7, I've got our boy. I've got the live dog, Diego Pavia.
Okay. Okay. And I figured you would probably have him. I do not have him on my list. But you go ahead and give your reasoning.
I just feel he's more mentally tough than pretty much everybody on this list. And I feel that he's going to make Vanderbilt be bowl caliber again, give himself an opportunity to potentially have an NFL career beyond this. A lot of starts. And
Yeah.
I think just like his experience being able to play in big games, like you beat Alabama, you hung with Texas, you own Hugh Freeze, like, and you're playing them all again next year. Um, I mean, there could be variance here. Like he could struggle potentially, like Noah Fifita did last year, but like I gotta respect the live dog, and he's making Vanderbilt effing turn. So that's why I've got him at 7.
So I tried to be super objective because we know I love Diego Papia. Like he's our guy, anointed by the show. But like I think when I was trying to make this list, I was trying to look at it from a perspective of these guys are just great quarterbacks. And when I look at Diego Pavia, he's a great football player. However, I think there's probably like 110 FBS programs where he sucks. And like I think you have to go to the right spot, and he is in the right spot with Vanderbilt. And so that definitely helps. But if I'm trying to be objective, someone who like really only works at select spots, like it's hard for me to put them in the top 10 returning quarterbacks. I have him at 13. Like, I love Diego Pavia. I think he's great for Vanderbilt. I do not think he's going to pull back this year. That's not why I have him at 13. I think it's just like if you put him on an Alabama, Alabama's probably going to go 4-8. Like, it's probably
Yeah.
not going to be good.
Win national title at Georgia. That's all I'm saying. Who do you got at 6?
That's right. At 6, I have DJ Lagway. And I think that he's kind of like the souped up version of Arch Manning. He didn't play the whole year last year, but when he did play, and as he started to get more reps, we saw what this kid was capable of. And it's quite impressive what this kid is capable of. Still want to see more, still want to see him really put together a full season, but I think the potential is absolutely off the charts. And I think that like the way Florida and Billy Napier have been able to handle this offseason with big winners in the transfer portal, big winners on the recruiting trail, I think it all speaks to DJ Lagway because everyone's like, hey, you know who I want to play with? That guy.
I do not have DJ Lagway in here for the same sort of reasons I don't have Arch Manning. He's in that next group with like Nico and Rocco Becht and the other people like that. Arch, it's just
Yeah,
like I got to see just a little bit more. I think he could be number one by the end of the year. I think Florida could be
100%.
really good, make the playoff. I think he's that special. I will say though, he did get hurt there in the cocktail party, and people that get hurt keep getting hurt, and
Yeah,
that's my concern. Not that that really matters, but like Billy Napier is putting all of his eggs in his basket with DJ Lagway, and he should because
yeah,
if you win 8 games, you keep getting him more opportunities to go. Lagway is only a sophomore. You've got probably 2, maybe 3 more years of this.
yeah. I mean, it's all up from here if he can stay healthy.
Yes. So at number 6, maybe I'm pushing a little bit more of the narrative of this guy's. I think it's gonna be really good. Fernando Mendoza. That's what I've got at 6.
Oh, I do not have Fernando Mendoza anywhere on my list, so I'm ready for it.
I just kind of feel that like he's gonna be playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he's from Miami. He's Cuban. Like, and then the Hurricanes didn't want him because Mario Cristobal probably can't spell Fernando Mendoza.
Facts.
You go to Cal, you make Cal very interesting in the ACC. Now you go to Indiana. Yeah, you're reuniting with your brother. Oh, God, what's his brother's name? I forget what it is. It's I think it's Alberto. I think that's it. There you go. Yeah.
Fernando Mendoza, brother.
I think it's
That's
Alberto Mendoza.
Alberto. Hell yeah, it's
Yeah.
Alberto.
So Bert and Fern, that's what we're talking about. Bert and Fernie.
Burton Fur.
I think he's going to be utterly sensational playing for Kurt Zagetti. I think the Hoosiers do pull back a little bit, but like they're going to win like 9 games, and he's going to be electric.
Mendoza might be an omission on my part, but
That's fine. Like that was Beck for me. It's okay.
yeah, no, like I thought about him. I guess I didn't think seriously enough about him just because like I understand I guess I throw him despite he has more experience than DJ Lagway and Arch Manning, but I also need to see him prove it because like his numbers and production at Cal weren't like out of this world. So like I guess like that I need to see it. I believe it can happen. I know he's talented and like a lot of that was the constructs of Cal's offense and obviously we saw what Indiana's offense is capable of under this current staff. So I probably should have had him on there and given it more consideration.
That's all right. So 5, going to the top 5. We're actually making decent time at this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so 5 is more guys who we've seen do it, and 5 is Cade Klubnik. And I would have Cade Klubnik 5 or higher than 5 based on just last year. I'm having a hard time getting past the other stuff where I did not care for the Cade Klubnik experience and was not a huge fan of what was happening at Clemson. But last year, he showed a lot of improvement. Last year, he really showed that maybe he really is taking to Garrett Riley's offense. And that's why we're high and bullish on Clemson going into next year is because Cade Klubnik looks like he has figured it out, looks like he's living up to his 5-star pedigree. I just can't erase some of the bad taste I had in my mouth.
I think, yeah, I've got Cade Klubnik in my top 5 coming up in a little bit. Mm. Like the initial part of it was kind of tough. There's kind of like, baby Huey out there
Yeah.
just drooling all over himself initially. Played really well last year. Would not shock me if he won the Heisman Trophy at all. I think he's really tapping into the 5-star potential. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence were at Clemson, but like he's better than DJU already.
Yeah.
And there's reason to be very hopeful with him. So I'll talk about Klubnik a little bit. At number 5, I've got Drew Aller.
Okay. Ooh, low on Drew. I like it.
I kind of feel that like I've always said this. I feel that he's a better version of JJ McCarthy, where I feel that like he gets a lot of praise for what the other people around him do.
Mm.
And I feel like it's not necessarily like this thing could drive itself, but like I've kind of felt if you put McCarthy or Aller in worse programs, they're not as good. That being said, I do think Drew Aller has the potential to be one of the first quarterbacks taken next year.
Hmm.
But there's also some reservations back. Like I've seen Drew Aller just have stinkers in big games.
Hmm.
And again, I'm of the minority. I do not think McCarthy is going to be a great pro. I just think he's too raw.
So I don't disagree with your McCarthy point. However, I'm higher on McCarthy than you, so I'm also higher on Drew Aller on this list.
Okay, so who do you have it for?
Four is where I have Sam Levitt. And I think Sam Levitt showed us enough this past season at Arizona State, particularly working with Kenny Dillingham, particularly like with the same formula they're kind of running back. Like you have Jordan Tyson coming back, you have Udo coming in from Army to replace Cam Scatabo. Like you're in a really good spot. I think that he proved a lot in the college football playoff. Like you watch him in that Texas game, that's a dude who's not afraid of anything, man. That's a dude who legitimately he said it going into the game and everyone laughed at him, but he's like, I'm going to show who the better quarterback is between me and Quinn Ewers. For much of the game, he did look like the better quarterback. And so, like, you look at this kid, I think he's just booming with confidence. I think Kenny Dillingham believes in him. And I'm high on what Sam Levitt can do, especially after, like, we saw a full season and damn, it was pretty good.
Right there with you. At four is where I have Carson back. I feel
Okay.
like just the amount of big games he's played and the amount of
Yeah.
mental reps he's had. Like even if his arm is not that great, I still kind of feel that like also you're playing in the ACC as opposed to the SEC. Like it's going to be like you're not going up against like the big line meat of Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You're going up against like Wake Forest or something. Like
You're going up against like Michael Lombardi's grandson or something.
yeah, Mac Lombardi or whatever dumb name it is. But yeah, that's what I've got. I've got Beck at four. And so I think you know who my top three are, and I think I know your top three are. Who do you have at three?
At three, I have LaNorris Sellers, and he's a dude, man. He just
Yeah.
really is. Like his legs are an undeniable weapon. There's no questioning that. But I think that he made huge progress as a passer in last season for being such a young player. I think that this the sky's the limit for this kid. Like truly, like he has in terms of his physical tools, he has number one pick in the draft potential. Like I truly believe that he is big, he is strong, he has a strong arm, and like I just think that if we saw that from him, like with relative inexperience, with being such a young player last year, if he keeps progressing, he's going to be like a not just a Heisman contender, but a guy who can win a program a national championship.
Yes, I have Leroy Sellers at three. I wanted to put him higher. I
I
just
did
didn't
too.
feel like I couldn't quite do it. I'm of the belief that he's the next Cam Newton,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be shocked if he was picked ahead of Arch Manning in the same NFL draft in 27 or 28.
I'm glad you said the Cam Newton thing because I was on the precipice of saying it the entire time I was talking. I was like, I don't know if I can go there yet, but I was right there. So I'm glad you said it.
No, it's like Cam Newton and Nolan Smith in one person. It's like this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And I hate that he doesn't play for Georgia and he plays for a rival, but that's okay. But like this is a guy who I think has the potential to be one of the most all-time great players in South Carolina football
Mhm.
history. We're talking like George Rogers, we're talking Sterling Sharp, we're talking Marcus Lattimore, we're talking
Jadeveon Clowney, like, yeah,
Melvin Ingram, we're talking
yeah.
Alshon Jeffrey, just some of
Hmm.
the all-time best players. This guy is unbelievable. I wish I could put him at one, but I can't.
He's one in
So
our hearts, and that's what
yes,
matters.
and I'm going to go ahead and just say I I think you probably have Drew Aller at two, right?
I do have Drew Aller at two. I do.
Yeah,
And you have Kate at two?
yeah.
Okay, so we have the same number one. Drew Aller. Like I said, I'm a little bit higher on JJ McCarthy's, meaning I'm higher on Drew Aller. I think that one of Drew Aller's biggest problems and like I'm not fully absolving him of blame. Like at a certain point, you do have to elevate, but I do think he improved a lot from 2023 to 2024. And also, he improved without the situation around him really improving all that much. The offensive line was actually worse. The receiving core, which we knew was a problem in 2023, did not get better. You had Tyler Warren and you didn't have much else. So I think Drew Aller is a damn good quarterback who is limited by his surroundings. And I understand that in college, a great quarterback should be able to elevate his surroundings. But when you're playing in a conference that is as competitive as the Big Ten, they kind of look like a team that that's what happens when you are kind of deficient in certain spots. You lose to the good teams that you play. You lose to the Ohio States. You lose to Oregons, and like that's kind of where I came down to Drew Aller is that he does the most with what he can, but there's a certain point where there's a threshold that he can only do so much because of the talent he's up against and the talent that's lacking around him.
This is a critical year for him. And
Hmm.
I don't know if this analogy is going to land or work, but there's two ways it could go. He could be the guy like his last year in college where it's like I make it I take this team and I elevate them. And
Hmm.
that's what made Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson such special players. They obviously weren't drafted in the first round like I think that Aller's going to, but if he did 2012 again, like Cousins and Cousins and Wilson go in the first round.
Right.
It's like, but like we remember them in Michigan State, and Wisconsin, and even Russell Wilson at NC State. It's like this is a little bit different.
Yeah, no, it 100% is. It's a crucial year, and like having him at two, like I'm fully aware that it could come back and look really stupid. That could be an I'm an idiot somewhere down the line, but I'm bullish on it.
The other side of the coin is if it doesn't make it happen, then he kind of gets put in that same sort of category as Drew Lock and Brock Purdy, who didn't quite do that at the end.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Brock Purdy's about to get $60 million. There are worse ways to go.
Yeah, and the San Francisco 49ers are not going to win another Super Bowl. Like my children are going to be able to read by the time they get to another one.
Yeah, I
I don't
mean
have kids yet.
it's a $59,300,000 pay increase. It's a lot.
We do math on this podcast. And I guess to kind of go with Kate Klubnik here, just the 5-star of it all. The banked reps, I think obviously a greater rapport with Garrett Riley, Dabus when he's making some changes. Clemson's in a group of about 8 teams that I think can win the national championship next year. Very high on Clemson. I don't like them. You don't like them at all. You probably hate them more than me.
Yeah.
But like, it's like I think it's a beautiful thing. If they play well, then we'll look right, and if they don't, then we'll feel good about it because we don't like
Yeah,
them. So
100%.
yeah,
We're all winners here. That's what matters.
and the winner of this one is number one. That'd be Garrett Nussmeier,
Hmm.
LSU.
Our boy. Not like when you look at Garrett Nussmeier, I just see an NFL quarterback, like just point blank, period. Like he's not mobile, but he's much like if Carson Beck is a 5 out of 10 in mobility, Nussmeier's probably like a 3.5, 4. Like he's not like a statue. He's not just Peyton Manning back there, can't move at all. But like the arm talent is unbelievable. I think the fact that this past season at LSU, like that's not an enviable position. You're replacing the Heisman Trophy winner. You're like everyone's talking about the Brian Kelly pop year, and you know what? For the most part, Garrett Nussmeier took care of his side of the ball. Garrett Nussmeier had LSU's offense in a place where they could have gone to the college football playoff. It was the other side of the ball that betrayed him. Garrett Nussmeier is an absolute dude. I legitimately think that had he gone into the NFL draft this year, had he gone through all the the combine and all the workouts and stuff like that, he's easily a first round pick. And the fact that he's returning to LSU is a huge feather in Brian Kelly's cap. It's a reason I'm going to be dangerously high on LSU, probably going to get burned because of Brian Kelly reasons, but it won't be because of Garrett Nussmeier reasons. This kid is the truth.
Yes, I'm not as high on Garrett Nussmeier as you are
Yeah.
because I'm not really high on LSU this year because there's kind of this kind of feels like the guy who I think is the best most compared to. That'd be Justin Herbert. That's who I see
Okay.
him as. In a best case scenario, with draft wise, Garrett Nussmeier is going to be Matthew Stafford or Justin Herbert. In mid tier, he's Sam Darnold. If it does not work out, then he's Blake Bortles.
Hey, ripping cigs, working construction.
Yeah, I mean that's the body, that's the prototype.
Yeah.
They're all relatively the same sort of player. He fits that mold. I think obviously the fact that his dad's a noted quarterbacks and offensive coordinators coach, played for the Saints in the 90s. I think the Saints need to draft him next year
Hmm.
and just bottom out this year, see what the hell happens. This guy's immensely talented. I don't know if he's going to be a Heisman contender, but like I think for what the NFL wants, he checks the box better than guy maybe anybody you've had come out the last couple of years.
Truly.
He's got that. So I think he's going to throw for a lot of yards, but I'm skeptical on LSU winning 10 games.
I am not. I've talked myself into LSU maybe winning 11. So we're that'll be a fun point of contention throughout the season for us.
That's fair. I think that's okay. So anybody else we didn't talk about you that you think could potentially be here? Anybody that you feel like front of mind just to that you think could be a very high end player next year?
I think one guy who's kind of under the radar that has my attention, Josh Hoover at TCU. He
Yeah.
had a lot of good moments last year. And like one of those guys that I felt like played better than people realized because TCU's defense was just complete dog water. And like TCU wasn't really ever a factor in any like Big 12 race, wasn't really ever a factor in any college football playoff race. So I feel like he went under the radar. But man, he played some good football. And like we know Sonny Dykes is a good offensive mind. We know he knows how to get the most of his quarterbacks. He's a much more traditional quarterback than a Max Duggan type. And so he's someone who I definitely don't have the stones or like even the evidence to put him in this top 10 list, but he's someone who I saw his name and I was like, that's a guy that I could see making a leap.
So I'll go one guy from each Power Four conference that I think could be good. Big Ten, I'm gonna start with Dante Moore at Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Talent's immensely good. You still have Will Stein. We'll see what happens. Pretty bullish on them, but again, haven't seen him play very much. He played a little bit at UCLA, but we'll see if he can make that next leap up. In the SEC, I think there's a chance Marcel Reed's pretty good.
I, I'm not there. Like you talk about Arch not being able to throw. Whew, I don't know if Marcel Reed knows how to throw a football.
But I think there's kind of like he fits what A&M wants to
Yeah.
do. That's
Yeah.
kind of my thing. In the ACC, I got to go Eli Holstein. I think he's pretty good
Mhm.
at Pitt.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't mention Kevin Jennings, but like Eli Holstein, I think could be really good. And then the Big 12, give me a Baron Morton Salt at Texas Tech. I
There
think
we
he could
go.
be.
Yeah.
I think
Barrett
he could be
Morton's a
really
good
good.
guy. Yeah. I like that one too. Also in the ACC, again, I don't think that there's any reason to put him in the top 10, but I think he could be in the postseason top 10. Miller Moss.
Yeah, that's
We're
true.
both really high on that transfer to Louisville. We're both really high on like how he fits with what Jeff Brom does. So he's someone who like, well, based on what he did at USC, he got benched at USC. Like, I don't think we can put him reasonably in a top 10 list, but we're both bullish on what that means for the Cardinals.
And I guess the last thing is neither of us mentioned Dylan Raiola. I think that's very interesting.
I mean, he's almost like a worse version of Nico, honestly,
Yeah,
when you think about it. Like, obviously the talent is there, obviously the hype was there. The results were pretty damn bad. That Nebraska's passing offense sucked egg. Like it was awful last year. So like maybe he levels up. And like I'm not ruling that out, but we're definitely not there yet.
for sure. If you can't make it work at a Dana Holgerson offense, you can't make it work. And this is just proof why bullying in high school is okay. You got or middle school. You gotta learn. You gotta have friends. You gotta be people need to razz you so you can like
Yeah.
have shame and not whatever the hell this is.
I mean, like I stand by the fact that the moment he undergoes like the Quinn Ewers like mullet cut when he cuts the Patrick Mahomes broccoli top, he's going to be an all-world quarterback. As soon as that happens, I'm all in on Dylan Raiola.
Yeah, but in the meantime, we always got to be crude. And let's move on to our next topic. Did okay, about 30 minutes on the dot with
It's a
quarterbacks.
long segment. It's
It was
okay.
the first time doing it. So always be crude. So I believe it was maybe I'm giving credit where I don't know. I think feel like Alicia De Artolo Castillo put this idea out there together on the desk. And it was talking about the recruiting classes based on 247 sports composite since 2020 and like what 10 programs who did the best, who underachieved with that.
Mhm.
So I have shared this article with you and looking at this, um, obviously Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State all landed like around 20 or so 5 stars over that 6 year period.
Yeah.
Texas got 17, A&M 15, Clemson, LSU had double digits, and Oregon, Miami, and Oklahoma rounded it out. I feel that like the biggest underachiever without question is A&M.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any debate about it, quite frankly. Like, and it's why I'm so like interested in Mike Elko and the Mike Elko era because I think so much of it was Jimbo Fisher related. Like, I just think that the times have passed Jimbo Fisher by in terms of being a high level SEC head coach, and we saw him like obviously he still has the ability to recruit. Look at the numbers: 15 5 stars in a 4 year span. Like yeah, you're probably going to be pretty good, but like the fact that you never even came really that you came close once, I believe, in the 2020 season to getting over the hump. Outside of that, you weren't really that close to getting over the hump. So like, and then the first year with Mike Elko, Texas A&M is at least in the conversation for quite a while to be a college football playoff team. So like, so much of it is a Jimbo thing that it's why I think we're so intrigued by what Mike Elko can do because they finally have like a competent adult in the room.
100%. So teams that were not underachievers, that would be Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. They all won national
Yeah,
titles. And I don't think you could say the same for, well, I think Texas falls kind of like the next tier. It's like
yeah,
they were not so good at the start, but they made the playoff back-to-back years. They won
yeah.
playoff games.
Made the semifinals to both
Yeah,
years. Like, yeah,
that's pretty good. And then I would say um I think Clemson's done pretty good as well, all things considered. I mean, they made the playoff twice. They've had some down stuff, but then it starts getting in the whole territory. Like, I don't think you're getting the most out of your talent.
yeah. And like, so with Clemson, I think it's interesting because like it's the transfer portal conversation. Like, if they were utilizing the transfer portal the way Texas, the way Alabama, the way Ohio State, the way Georgia have been, Clemson's probably higher than six out of like, or higher than the fifth best out of this. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah,
just like, I think they've made the most of their 5-star talent. They just haven't supplemented that. And I think that's the big issue with Clemson. But yeah, you're right. Once you get to the bottom five in terms of underachievers, like, I mean, honestly, it's pick your poison because I feel like they just haven't done enough. Like, in your article you have Texas A&M 1 with a bullet. Then you have LSU 2, 3 Oklahoma, 4 Miami, 5 Oregon. I would probably have Miami 2 in my opinion because what the hell has Miami done? Like Miami hasn't done a damn thing with any of this talent. Like at least with LSU, you have a Heisman Trophy winner, and like a lot
yeah.
of those 5 stars that you're talking about are not on defense. Like a few are, but like not as many. Like Brian Kelly has not recruited the defensive side of the ball at the level that you probably should at LSU. So like I I think Miami is probably the one where I'm just looking at it like, man, you should have done a way more with what you're doing, especially because while they're in this top 10 5-star recruit since 2020, that we also know that they heavily utilize the transfer portal. So it's not a Clemson situation. It's like quite literally them not living up to the talent.
I thought about that too. Like I was kind of going back and forth between like who's really second between LSU, Oklahoma, and Miami. And
Yeah,
I
I mean,
settled on,
it's a coin toss. Like it's whatever argument you want to make in the moment.
but like yeah, LSU had the national championship that predates this recruitment and
Mhm.
everything like that. Haven't been a playoff team since. Never lost a playoff game. They're the Miami Marlins of the college football playoffs.
That's right. Yeah. Oh my God. The Miami Marlins. What a team. What a franchise.
Watch them soar. But I think you bring up a good point with Miami. They do a lot of stuff in the portal, but you're also in Florida. And I understand it's a private school. I understand they have academic restrictions and stuff like that. I also understand that Florida, FSU, and UCF are also in state. But like, there's plenty of talent to go around. This
Mhm.
isn't like Oklahoma where they got to take people from Texas. They
Right.
do a great job of that. This isn't like Oregon where they got to take people from Northern California. There's I think that one's fair, but as I look at this stuff with Oklahoma, and we'll probably talk about them a little bit later,
Yeah.
this is it's getting a little depressing with the Sooners. Just
Yeah.
it feels like the new Nebraska.
I didn't do my research, but one thing I actually meant to and I forgot to before the pod to look up how many of those 5-star recruits were before Lincoln Riley left. Because I think that's something super interesting to consider. Because I do not like in my at least anecdotally, Brent Venables is not recruiting at the same level that Lincoln Riley was.
No, like I mean, Caleb Williams would be one of those 5 stars.
Yeah.
Maybe Spencer Rattler, but like I'm trying to think what else you'd even potentially have.
I'm trying to think. Was Nick Anderson a 5-star receiver? He's
Sure.
not even at Oklahoma anymore. He's
Why
at
why
LSU.
why not? Yeah,
But like
let's say the list.
it's like I would be curious to see that because like I think it is a sad state of what Oklahoma is currently becoming, it seems like.
For sure.
Speaking of going back to the quarterback conversation, we didn't mention John
John
Mateer.
Mateer.
Yeah.
I wanted to, I just don't know.
Yeah, I have no clue. Like what's this going to look like in the SEC?
Initially I had John Mateer and I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. I can't put him
Yeah,
here.
right.
No, but I guess like the overachiever, underachiever line, it's like there's things that Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Texas do that the others don't.
Mhm.
Can you expound upon that, maybe what you think that is, why there seems to be such a stark cutoff there? Maybe you've got Clemson and Oregon after that, and then it's just bad.
So I think it's the inverse of the Clemson point that I made, in that what, in my opinion, what great programs do in the modern era of college football is you recruit at a high level and then you supplement the roster through the transfer portal. You fill the holes through the transfer portal. Like you look at last year, Texas goes in the season and say, okay, we have Quinn Ewers returning. We have all these wide receivers coming back. We have a great like homegrown defensive talent, but we do kind of have a hole at edge. So they go out and they get Trey Moore from UTSA. Like they consistently done that throughout the year. The year before that, they're like, okay, we kind of have a hole at wide receiver. They go and get AD Mitchell from Georgia. Like you recruit at a high level and then you go and you use the transfer portal to kind of just fill in the holes. Whereas you have Ole Miss, who's not obviously not on this list of like recruiting five stars. They wholly use the transfer portal. You have Clemson, who has underachieved according to their five stars a little bit just because they haven't used the transfer portal. So like I think it's the balance of those two and figuring out that balance is recruiting first, develop your homegrown base with your recruits, and then you supplement the roster through the transfer portal.
Yes, Ole Miss is not there. They do a lot of transfer portal stuff. I think it's interesting that Penn State and Notre Dame aren't on here.
Yeah.
Tennessee as well. I feel like that's probably like your next group of teams that like should be here. But the ones I had like for the four best, like I'd argue those are the four best jobs in the country.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I mean, Clemson and Oregon, like they aren't like, I don't know if they're really traditional powers. They kind of are. Maybe Clemson more so than Oregon.
They're
But like,
traditionally relevant. I think
yeah.
it's the better way to say that. Like I don't know if power is necessarily the right word, but traditionally relevant.
But I feel like they're playing up.
Yeah.
Whereas like A&M and Miami are just trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but you got to always be recruiting. I think that was a great thing to get through pretty quickly. Let's move on to our fourth topic with some do Host or do Host. This is gonna be a hard one to ask, but I'm gonna try the best I can. I feel like a nervous guy trying to ask a pretty girl to prom. I can't do it.
I'll go to prom with you, Bueller. It's fine.
I'll punch you when you have some punch.
Hell yes.
Yes. So, okay, Cody, do Host or do Host? With James Franklin and Ryan Day trying to poach assistants off of downtrodden blue bloods like Oklahoma and Auburn, is this a sign of disrespect that they have for these schools?
Do Haas 1S, and I think the disrespect is deserved. I think that those two programs deserve the disrespect that they're getting. Like, I'm high on Auburn going into 2025, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, they've been a doormat, frankly, in the SEC for the past 2 years. And Hugh Freeze is trying to change that, but like, good college football programs smell blood in the water and take advantage of that. Like the elevated version of that, because Ohio State is not downtrodden, but Penn State seeing that Jim Knowles was unhappy at Ohio State going to get him. If you smell blood in the water and you're a good college football program, you go and you make the move and you do that. And like Oklahoma is not in a good spot right now. Oklahoma just had a lot of offensive staff turnover. So going and trying to get his DeMarco Murray makes perfect sense. Absolutely makes sense. I don't care if he's an alum there. It's not a good situation right now. Brett Venables is an alum there and everyone seems to want to run him out of Norman. So like that's it. That if you're Penn State, that makes perfect sense to me. You're trying to elevate yourselves to be a national championship contender after what you just did this past season, making it to the college football playoff semifinal. So you see a program like Oklahoma, obviously they have resources, but it's not working out. Go try to get a DeMarco Murray, excuse me. If you're Ryan Day looking at Auburn, you see someone like DJ Durkin down there. Absolutely, we know what kind of mind he is as an analyst, as an assistant, as a coordinator. You try and you get him into the program. Like it, if you smell blood in the water, yes, it's disrespectful, but you deserve the disrespect.
I knocked the hell out of my hand on my desk in here. I was trying to see if there's some blood in the water here, but I'm right there with you. Duhas, this is just basically shows that Penn State, Ohio State don't respect Auburn and Oklahoma. I gotta find this with Ohio State. Like, so you lose Jim Knowles because maybe he's not like a good personality fit for what they try to do. Maybe Matt Patricia is better. We'll see what happens. But he's like your fourth choice. You probably wanted Chris Ash, and Notre Dame got him to
Mhm.
replace Al Golden. Then you go out there and you try to get DJ Durkin, which you carry so much baggage. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, first off, Auburn doesn't care. Auburn's just dirty as hell.
I
It's a
mean,
dirty as hell program.
let's be clear. Are we sure Ohio State cares?
No, they don't care either. It's fine. But like, Hugh Freeze, who has so much pressure on him, probably say the hottest seat in the SEC. It's either him or Sam Pittman. I don't really think third's probably Mark Stoops
Yeah.
if I had to kick it out that far. He's now the second high paid assistant coach in college football behind Jim Knowles, which is earned. And I'm like, I could think of probably 10 coordinators that have paid higher than DJ Durkin.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Like I'll tell you this, I'm happier to have Steve Belichick at North Carolina than I
Yeah.
am to have DJ Durkin
I would
at
pay Glenn
Prime.
I would pay Glenn Schumann and Mike Bobo more than DJ Durkin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's it probably should be, but that's neither here nor there. But I guess it shows like how desperate Auburn is to succeed. I mean, again, bottom team in the SEC, they have to make a bowl game this year. The Oklahoma one is really the big thing. I wrote this for Scott
Yeah.
Rogas to end the shift yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, DeMarco Murray's the OU alum. He's like, oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, go with that angle. I don't think Brent Venables is an OU alum. He's coached there. I think he's K-State, if I'm not
You're right.
mistaken.
You're right. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
But he's
I meant the Brotherhood, the
right, right.
coaching. Yeah, yeah.
So you had to move on from Cale Gundy, who is an alum. You had to for that reason. You
Yes.
move on from Seth Luttrell after bringing him back after failing in North Texas. If DeMarco Murray leaves, who's been there since 2020, again, a period that's not been great for Oklahoma football. Uh, Oklahoma legendary running back, great NFL player with your Cowboys, Eagles, and the Titans. Not a long career, but a really great player.
Yeah.
Um, if he leaves, like you're talking about three people who are beloved by OU on the offensive side of the ball, and you're on defense, this kind of starts to get in a little bit of the Mike Zimmer, Pat Narduzzi, get off my lawn, defensive minded territory.
Yeah.
If Oklahoma stinks, they're going to pin it on him. And if they do that, they need to also get rid of Joe Castiglione as the AD for paying him that salary. Like, I obviously it seems like DeMarco Murray is going to stay because I think he's at least interested in see what Ben Arbuckle can do as the OC.
Yeah.
But like, if you think you can go into someone's alma mater and poach their coach, like, could you imagine like if somebody goes into Georgia's staff, it's like, you know what, we're going to poach Mike Bobo or we're going to poach Will Muschamp. And
Yeah.
we're like, you think the Dabo goes in there and tries to do that? That would be so disrespectful. I would
Yeah.
basically say, I don't care about Georgia at all. Like, this is wild.
No, like if you did that at Georgia, if you did that with a program that is functioning at the at the peak of their powers, you're gonna get laughed out of the building most of the time. Like quite frankly, and like DeMarco Murray may stay, but he's not like I guarantee you it's something he seriously considered. Like I guarantee you it's something he gave serious consideration, and that speaks a lot about Oklahoma. And you talk about Joe Castiglione, like think about it even further. Like Oklahoma is currently in a situation where they're they could alienate a lot of people with the way that they're operating right now. Like if Venables continues to fail, and you talk about the other, Latrell, you talk about Gundy, like Gundy was obviously justified. Latrell, I'm not sure if that was completely justified. I think that was a lot of personnel issues, which comes back to Venables, not Latrell. But now you look at DeMarco Murray potentially leaving. If Venables were to get fired, you can't bring back one of the most obvious candidates because Josh Heupel hates his alma mater nowadays. So you're alienating so many people, and like in the SEC, where the hell does that leave you? Because like your arrow is not pointing up. Where do you go from there if you're Oklahoma if you fire Brent Venables? Like that's something I've been tossing around, and like this is only like more confirmation that seems like we might be where we're heading.
Yeah, I don't like Auburn's chaotic, so that's what Oklahoma's got going for it.
Yeah,
But if like Kentucky's like, we're done with Mark Stoops, they just hired John Summerall. It's
yeah,
very easy.
you're
Or
right.
maybe Liam Cohen decides he hates the NFL because he's a job hopper and an opportunist. Maybe he comes back to Kentucky for a third time.
There we go.
I am so unbelievably down on Liam Cohen of the Jaguars. I think that's going to be an absolute tie fire. I think Trevor Lawrence quits football. He's like, I'm done. I'm just going to go paint on the easel with my weird brother.
I'm gonna give it a C plus. We'll see how it plays out.
That's how I gave up Ryan Callahan at the Titans. Like, sure, why not? We'll see what happens. The Tom Fornelli of this show. But yeah, that's wild. But I was also thinking about this. Like Ohio State, Penn State, and Notre Dame are all like basically going after the same people. It's been a while to follow.
I mean, it's been fun, man. Like I love a little rivalry bleeding out into the off season. That's what that keeps the show fun for sure.
It's a Midwestern turf war.
That's right. The worst kind, some might say.
They had that there in Urbana, Ohio, with the Little Giants and the Cowboys.
Oh, the O'Sheas. We love them dearly.
And I'm not going to massage evaporated milk onto your calves, but maybe we need to do that for our next topic here with some. I'm trying, Jennifer. What a transition, Jesus Christ. Uh, you brought this to my attention. Alabama athletic director Greg Byrne hates the idea of court rushing and field storming and believes that you should forfeit if you do that. And again, I don't like it. I think it's kind of childish. We had privet hedges at Georgia, and that you get harpooned like a whale.
Yeah,
Apparently, people
right.
apparently people still do that. I didn't know
Oh yeah.
that.
I mean, tough. Like as someone who in college may or may not have had a couple of nights where we invented the sport of bush diving, which was
Yeah.
started on a roof and ended in a bush, and I'll leave it there. But
Oh,
it's not comfortable.
my cousin Jamie did that in college too.
Yeah, I mean, things happen.
Yeah, bush diving, it happens. But like I can understand like being like not liking it, but you can't ask for somebody to forfeit. Just fine them six figures.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, man. Like I'm honestly apathetic when it comes to court storming, field storming. Like, do what you want to do, whatever. Like, I do not care. Like, in either way, too. Like, there are people who get up in arms about like, oh, act like you've been there before. Like, you're so and so. Like, you're Oklahoma upsetting Alabama. Like, don't storm the field. You're Oklahoma. Well, brother, Oklahoma ain't what Oklahoma used to be. So, like, let the kids if they want to have their fun. But like, I truly don't care. Whatever you want to do. But forfeiting, like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. First off, let's get past the fact that if you're storming the field, you've already played the game. The result's already written. How are you going to forfeit? We're not retroactively taking it away like Reggie Bush's Heisman. Like this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Greg Byrne, you're soft. You're so soft. Alabama's soft. That's why you're going 9-3 next year.
Yeah, that's the guy who decided to pick Mr. Bagel, Kalen DeBoer.
Mr. Bagel. I like
I
it.
don't.
That,
I like bagels, but we're Southerners. We know it's about biscuits, man.
biscuits. I mean, biscuits are far superior. There's no question.
I know you can like put things in it. Well, you can do it with a bagel too. I realize that now. But can you put
No,
gravy on a bagel? No.
no, you can't. And that's the ultimate selling point, frankly.
Yeah, I know. What's like the difference? Like you eating quinoa over grits? You eating quinoa?
Yeah, quinoa.
Yeah, whatever. Might as well eat some granola, you dirty hippie.
Get some granola
Uh,
with some organic Greek yogurt. That'd be great.
yeah, let's go to Whole Foods. It's called whole paycheck.
Oh God.
But you bring up a good point there. Like the game's already decided. Like we have a winner, we have a loser. It's embarrassing for the team getting the team losing on the road and having people storm on them. But it's kind of a sign of respect. It basically says that like you shouldn't have lost,
Yeah, like
and it's a big
that
deal.
win meant something to them. You know what I mean? Like that shows that your program like means something as well if it means something to beat you.
Like I think it's all for me. Like the reason I'm out on it is because it's player safety. I mean, this is
Yeah,
like their job. I don't want some Yahoo on the internet coming in my apartment and telling me how much I effing suck
right.
because I don't agree with your team. Like we all have biases, but like I've got to. My job is to have hard hitting opinions and analysis. That's what I do. I make bold takes, and that's what I do. But like I also think it's hilarious when they take the goalpost, throw it into Potter Lake in Lawrence,
Yes.
Kansas, or they take the goalpost down to the Cumberland River.
That's a long trip, man. I'm never gonna get over how long of a trip that was.
I swear to God, it's like going from Vanderbilt in Midtown to the Cumberland took about as long from going from my apartment to my sister's house
Yeah,
yesterday.
right.
This the amount of Kroger shopping carts we saw by a bus stop is absurd. There must have been 20. And I go to the Arizona State podcast. I'm like, Rosie, that's got to be like between like a third and a quarter of what Kroger has to offer in terms of Bucky's.
Right, 100%.
It's like a trailer park boys throwing it down the hill
Yeah.
and
Oh,
Pobles collecting.
speaking of, I have a Trailer Park Boys update for you. So our boy Ian McMillan is from Nova Scotia, obviously where Trailer Park Boys was set, and he said that it is absolutely like almost like a documentary of like Nova Scotian rednecks, essentially. Like he goes, I know people like this. There are people like in my general vicinity who are exactly like this.
And then there's also Moncton there, which I believe is the capital of what, New Brunswick, I think.
Brother. Yeah,
It's
we're
it's
we're we're getting out of my depth
we're talking about
here.
Atlantic Canada. Okay, I know Halifax is like the big city there in Nova Scotia. So we've said this, like you said that Eastbound and Down is very much like Western North Carolina,
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
and Atlanta's just exactly like The Walking Dead. Like,
Exactly. Yes.
yes, also the show with Donald Glover. I've seen a little bit of that. Yeah, there's enough crossover there too. It's totally fine.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And they obviously don't make a show about Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That would be a really frightening experience to everybody involved.
No, nobody wants that. No, we've Junction Boys, I think, is as close we're gonna get to that.
We'll just leave it at that. Any other thoughts about like court storming or field rushing or anything like that? I feel like you got to find people a ridiculous amount
Yeah,
because like I do think that it's a student-led sort of thing, and obviously a lot of these kids were still like they were in COVID in high school, so they don't really know any better, so they're just going to go out there and do it.
yeah.
But also I would say though, like with so many different venues now selling alcohol in the stadium, this could get dangerous.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong with the player safety element. Like we've seen a couple dust ups in recent years. Like I'm thinking, which given some of the things going around about his character, who knows what happened here? But like Jermaine Burton, like hitting the Tennessee fan when Tennessee was rushing the field, and like we've seen similar instances throughout college football. So like there is something to be said for that. But like I think my ultimate, like, if I'm talking about Greg Byrne specifically, like, it feels like he's just salty that they lost to Oklahoma, if I'm being real honest about it. And also, like, it feels like his reaction is the same way I reacted to Ohio State, like, getting pissy about Michigan planting a flag. If you don't want them to plant the flag, if you don't want them to storm the field, don't lose. Be better. That's all I'm asking.
Your frozen yogurt, yours the celery desserts, be ice cream, be
Exactly.
nothing, be better.
Be better.
All right. Are you ready for the last
I'm
segment of the show?
probably not, but let's do it anyway.
All right, this is the return of graphic design is my passion. I'm really rusty. I could not get the interface to work. I half of them were on Sticker Mule and half of them were on Adobe, just doing some screenshots. So I've got a very elite eight, and Cody has not seen these. Maybe he has. I don't know. I've seeded them accordingly, what I think is the best, and we'll pick a winner, and I'll share the four out on social media by the end of the day, I guess.
I'm going in blind. I have not looked at these. I purposely did not open the email until this exact moment, and I have not scrolled down to look at any of these yet.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna go to the sent email. So number one seed, we've got Jesse Palmer versus number eight seed Dino Babers.
Jesse Palmer, no bulldog, just birthday parties. Hell yeah. Always shouts out to our boy Antonio. And then Dino Babers, the dead cat bounce. We know it, we love it, and we love to see it. My computer's not loading. I'm stalling, trying to get this to load.
Yes, those two were made on a sticker mule. So,
Hell yes.
have you seen them yet?
Okay, we're good. We got it. At one point in time, this cat's team was alive.
I think the Jesse Palmer one's one of my best work there. Like the
Yeah,
guy brushing his teeth looks like Jesse Palmer.
it really does. Yeah, Jesse Palmer's the winner there. Although I will say I do love the Dino Babers. It's a good one.
Yes, I was just like looking for things that we bring up in the show a lot. So next up, we get number two seed Mel Kiper Jr. versus number seven seed Matt Rule.
Mel Kiper Jr., all filler, no killer with a big old slice of pumpkin pie. Hell
Yeah,
yes, brother. Oh God, we love it. And then Matt Rule, all the oxygen in the room is
mine.
mine. I gotta go Mel Kiper with like the Nosferatu font that you're working with there. Just absolutely beautiful work.
He's Nosferatu of
Yeah.
Baltimore. Like,
Hey, Bubba.
hey, Bubba. All right. Number three, Arch Manning versus number six, Trent Bray.
So Arch Manning, have you seen my student ID? Oh God. All I can think about reading that is there's something about Mary. Have you seen my baseball? Like that's all I can think about with Arch now.
His middle name might be Warren. It's not.
And, maybe one day it will be. And then Trent Bray building a believer in Beef Town.
Which one's the best?
It's Arch Manning. Oh, come on. Have you
I
seen
know.
my student ID? Come on. Come on.
And the last two, we've got number 4 seed Luke Fickle versus number 5 Tom Coughlin Purple.
Luke Fickle, I will make a goldfish climb a tree. Oh my God. And then Tom Coughlin Purple, go park my car.
It's Luke Fickle.
It's Luke Fickle.
So all the higher seeds advance. I think of this one, the ones that didn't advance. I think like Dino Baber is probably the next best.
Dino Baber's got me, man. The cat is hilarious on this one.
All right. I don't know if we want to like we're not gonna like do this out, so you have to do more work later. But like of the 4 you have advancing to whatever we do this later, which ones are your favorite? Like,
bro, Mel Kiper is one of the best ones you've ever done. I'm not kidding. Like that's some of your best work. It's unbelievably good.
That one was really good.
Like we should put that on a t-shirt. Like legitimately.
I really like that one, and then the Arch Manning one gets me every time. And obviously,
good.
Jesse Palmer is just absolute pure chaos.
Which I mean, it should be. It's a birthday party. What are we doing?
Oh my gosh! But yeah, that was the return of graphic design as my passion. I hope I can get better at it. I was really struggling with this the last time.
Hey man, you're a little rusty out of practice, but you still came through with some bangers. So like no complaints on my end.
In the dirt when Vince Neil's talking about how crappy the album of Fear of Pain is, he's like, "There's 2 things on here that are good. It's a Home Sweet Home and our cover of Smoking in the Boys Room. Everything else in this album sucks."
That's right.
And the handler for the band's like, Doc is like, "How do you know this?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm the only one up there sober singing every night. These songs suck." I have to fake it.
Oh, I'll never forget that my uncle has a friend who was like a big time like 70s rock guy. Like he was like the stand-in or studio band for like a bunch of different bands back in the day. And so he was always wanting to talk to me about rock music. That's all he ever wanted to talk about. And this was like early mid 2000s. And one time I'm at where I think it was at Thanksgiving, and he's talking to me and he goes, "Have you ever heard of this band called Hoobastank?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of Hoobastank because The Reason had just come out. It was a big deal." And he goes, "The Reason," he goes, "that's an unbelievable song. Like, that's one of the best songs I've ever heard." And I was like, "What do you think of the rest of the album?" And he goes, "Oh, it's complete horse ass." Like, he goes, like, it was just absolutely terrible. But they had one song that just like transcended all of it.
And we are going in the same direction here. Yes, this was episode 150 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. God, I think I got a cough again. I'm so bad. It gets in my head. Don't ever get the flu, humans. It's terrible. Starters, don't do it. Yeah, don't do it. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle 20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. It's Bregman Day. Give us a 5-star review.
Give us 2 5-star reviews. 2 for Alex Bregman, 5-star reviews.
He's number 25, right?
No, he's number 2.
Oh, 2. Yeah.
Yeah, he's number 2. Give us 2 5-star reviews.
Matt Ryan was number 2, and he was the S too. So I respect that.
As was Dom Smith on the Red Sox last year, our beautiful boy.
I don't know who number 2 is on the Braves. I don't even remember. Maybe Albies.
That sounds right. Sure.
Why not?
The only day I know what everyone's number is Jackie Robinson Day because they're all wearing 42.
Mariano Rivera and Shambles.
That's right.
This number was significant to me. It's like, you can just shut up.
Just shut up, man.
Yeah, but graphic design is my passion is back. I can't believe we survived. We got to figure out what we're going to be doing, like other fun stuff. We debut TIN 10 this week. We'll probably do that with rivalries, with running backs, stadiums, teams we've covered in our professional career.
We could just go vibes, just pure vibes, like the top 10 vibes for the 2025 season.
Yes, best hair.
Oh yeah. Dylan Raiola comes in at 134th.
Yeah. Best hair, Drew Aller, King Broccoli.
That's right.
Oh my God. We've been crawling in the dark looking for the answers, and this is False Start.